So these days, there's pretty much like 3 things that I'm looking at straight off the rip to check the health of Bitcoin. One is the hash rate. What is the hash rate doing? Because regardless of what price action does, if you understand the juggernauts that are running this network and that are supporting it and protecting it, it really gives you a lot of like faith in any kind of spot Bitcoin buys, Bitcoin longs, like long-term focused, because you understand that like from 2015 to 2017, what the market deemed Bitcoin's value to be changed 100 times. Okay, so let's look at actually what was going on like during that period. So from 350,000, so we've had about a 50x multiplier. Where are we? Logarithmic scale. I mean, just look at this. This kind of says it all. So my point is, if even back in December of 17, there was enough capital deployed to secure the Bitcoin network that people felt comfortable saying Bitcoin was worth $20,000. And now since then, it has done nothing but grow. And it is, what is that? Since the prior all-time high, 10 times higher than it is today. And we're valued 50% of what we were at that all-time high. I mean, all that tells you is that we're on the right track. We're absolutely on the right track. And if this starts to trend anything but upwards, I would be worried about the health of the network. So anyway, this is just something I look at that makes me feel really good inside, nice and warm and fuzzy. All right, and then Bitcoin itself and the price action. One of the things I talked about last time, and you probably have heard me say it many times, is how when we're in an actual bull run, an actual uptrend, how important the 21 EMA is. And I have that turned on right here. That's what this blue line is. And this, even when we broke out of our accumulation period, we tested and retested this 21 EMA and then used it. And we kissed it a number of times. Right there, right there, right there, right there, right there, right. Like this basically gave us, it told us what the floor of our uptrend was essentially.
So quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Stupid finance guy, don't know anything.
Okay.
What is the EMA?
So an MA, so let's drop the E and it's just, okay, let's start with that for now. Okay. An MA is just a moving average. Okay.
Okay, moving average, got it.
Right, and all that is, and you can actually look at the code on this, and this is good for anybody who's interested in like, hey, I like this indicator, but I'd love to know what it actually does. You can actually look in here and check it out. So this is kind of a type of EMA, a type of MA that is based off the open and close of particular candles. So there's different ways to do it, but that's how this one is. An EMA is an exponential moving average. And okay, when you have assets that are moving logarithmically, which is why we view Bitcoin on log and not on standard, because if we turn log off, and let's look at BLX, which is actually the oldest price history we can get for Bitcoin. Oh, hang on, I have this like inverted for some reason. Because it's 1 over BLX, that's why. Okay, so look at the Bitcoin price history when you turn log off. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's how I've been doing it, so it makes sense that it's...
Yeah, you can't make any heads or tails of any of that. That's gobbledygook. I mean, it's no sense in even trying. But if you click log, which is down in the bottom right, suddenly you can kind of make sense of it.
What are y'all playing? Or what are y'all doing?
I'm live and I'm doing my segment real quick. Hang on, I'm gonna move me and Tex into the room. No big deal. All right, so when you turn the EMA on, it's better, it views these explosive macro up moves. It makes it where you can understand it. and actually read it. So Buck Rogers, what's up, man? Buck, I hope you closed that NXT long, by the way, or just holding it for the long term. But we'll get to that here in a minute. Anyway, so we see that the hash rate is doing nothing but going up, and we see that the 21 weekly, because we're on the weekly, the 21 weekly EMA is being respected. And again, just like we were saying back in the last bull run, which was this period of time right here, every time we interacted with the 21 week EMA on the weekly, it respected it. So that's what we want to see happening. And back when we had this drop from 12.5 down to 9,800, this is one of the reasons why I stayed bullish, despite most of the market being kind of scared / bearish, was because we had a chance to break below that. Like we could have done this, like we did on the COVID deal, or back in November of 19. There was lots of chances to just get it destroyed by going under that, but we didn't. And what's interesting too is you can actually count the number of candles, right? Because 21 just means it counts the previous 21 candles and it gives you an average. I mean, that's all it is. But you can measure, where's my measure? There we go. Date range, 21 candles back. Okay. So not too long ago, basically right when it fell, or maybe right before, the math was including this, the COVID dump. So the further we move away from that and hold at these levels, the further we move away from these prices, because they were dragging the average down, the more this EMA will continue to climb, and the faster rate it will climb. So even if we go sideways, that's bullish as hell in the medium term, because again, these are weeklies, right? So we're talking like months. 4 candles is a month. So you got to, like, what we've been seeing right here is, what is that, 3 months worth basically?
Yeah.
So as long as we're above the 21 EMA, which today is at 10.4, and the hash rate's continuing to grow, and you know, also obviously we're past halving. Halving was second week of May. You know, and compared to prior halvings and kind of the price action that took place immediately after, we're full steam ahead. I see nothing to slow us down. Yeah, this is really, really nice. Okay, I mean, there's a lot of other stuff I can go into. Let me hit a couple of alts real quick, and then we'll get into your questions, Tex. Ethereum, I'm still loving it. I think it's very similar. We have a 21 EMA, which I never really talk about the 21 on other alts, but it's also very similar. It's kind of the price floor for pretty much any asset, for whatever reason, but it just tends to act that way. And once again, even when we had our strong sell-off from like 500 to 300, we never went below that 21. So that would be good. Buck, I just saw your message. XMR, Dash, and Litecoin, you got it. We'll hit that here in a second. Neo and Ethereum are still in my top 2, because the total 2, again, this is the total market cap of all crypto except for Bitcoin. And we are in this really, really nice accumulation, and we're breaking out of it. So I suspect we'll be continuing up, and it'll do nothing but grow. And then these alts make up the total 2, and they also have a very similar structure. Buck, I was just plugging this earlier, but I have a new YouTube, and I would recommend you check out my very first video. I'm gonna do the thing later. I mean, it's like 40 minutes long. Watch it on 2x, watch it on fast speed, but kind of get educated on Wyckoff accumulation if you don't know what it is. If you do, then great. But if you do, then you'll realize how powerful this is that we're looking at. The last time Bitcoin made that pattern is when it went from the lows of, like, call it $200 to 20,000, a 100x multiple. And now total 2, which is like the entire altcoin market cap, total 2 literally did the same thing over 2 years. Bitcoin, when it did it, it was 8 months. Total 2 has done it over 2 years and is now breaking out. So I would absolutely 100% expect something like a return to the all-time high and then on to new highs. And pulling these things with it. Neo, Ethereum, ADA still looks really good. This is something I'm watching. TRX, I'm not really sure about. This blow off top, like I was saying last time, I'm not a huge fan of that, so I'm not entered into that. All right, let's get into XMR. XMR is something that I've been watching as well. Let me also plug my TradingView, because I actually posted my XMR stuff on TradingView a while back. Like, I don't know, almost a week ago now. It's 5 days ago now. But that basically, this particular pattern is a rounded bottom or rounding bottom. There's got different names for it. But what I suspect is going to happen is, I mean, it's like parabolic to the upside. It can't last. That kind of stuff does not last, especially on the weekly. And again, if we look at where the 21 EMA is, I mean, it's down here. So it's going to have one hell of a pullback on the Bitcoin pair. Likely what'll happen is Bitcoin will take off and the other alts will not take off at the same speed. At least that's what I suspect. So I bet you have some, like a similar pattern to what Ethereum's doing, how it's kind of flagging, or like what the Total 2 is doing. I suspect you'll get something similar with XMR, where it consolidates for a period of time before like continuing. But all in all, like Buck, I have those, you know, those Leolana coins, the brass coins with the private keys and everything on that. I'm keeping that for the long haul, because I think this move to the upside, there is no target. It's just until it stops. So it could be a while. I mean, obviously, if you wanted to pick levels of interest, you would pick where there was lots of fighting. So in fact, Tex, you may want to learn about this. There's something called the visible range, and you can view a certain period of time. So like I want to go, let's say like January of 2018 to today. So I move the chart to show that. And typically what happens is price wants to interact with the highest volume. And what this is saying is, at this price, the most people traded, like buyers bought and sellers sold. So typically you will get a lot of activity in that before it moves up. It doesn't usually just go like straight through it or cut through it. Sometimes it does, but it usually doesn't. So if you were a buyer down in here, you would actually be targeting these nodes as where the price was headed, because this was chicken shit. Like nobody cared about that. So it would just cut straight through it. But these high volume nodes is where there'll be like a pullback or something. But I don't use that all the time. I like that as an indicator for kind of an upside target. Buck, you said XMR pullback to sub 80s. It depends on what Bitcoin's doing, right? So if I'm calling a pullback on the Bitcoin pair, but Bitcoin skyrockets and XMR trends up at like 1% a day versus, you know, Bitcoin's doing like crazy moon stuff, then it won't, the USD won't actually pull back. So let's look at the XMR USD, which I don't do all the time. I'm still on the weekly and I still have my 20 EMA on. So I think a target of like 90, if it pulled back literally today, that would not be unreasonable at all. Sorry, I got a text message. Let's see. So let's actually open the VPVMR 2018. All right, so there's actually not a lot of overhead resistance here. Let's back it up and see if we can get like a better idea of the macro trend. No, I mean, these nodes are about all equal. So maybe just into it, just shy of it. If you consider this particular part the distribution, like all this, then it would be reasonable to expect price to come interact with that. Actually, it looks like it already is. So the top may be in for this particular move before some pullback. And the reason I say that is, just like we were talking about before, a lot of times when people have like a short entry, what the market in whales and stuff love to do is fuck people before it continues. So like if your stop was right there, you just got your stops blown off. Like even if you've held this since June of 2019, you're now underwater and you probably closed. Just like if you were long from December of 18 and you were feeling pretty good up here and suddenly you got the COVID crash and look how far below this particular wick went, and if you were long, or especially margin long, you're not anymore, and then price went up. I mean, that market loves doing that stuff. So what I would love to see on the weekly, let's look at where the closes are. So right here, the market tested, dumped, came up, could not close at this $115 range, couldn't close again, retested and then dumped. Now we're closing above it. So my bearish argument is that we're above this high, but that's kind of a weak bearish argument. I think the much stronger argument to make is that there's plenty of room to the upside left, because we're closing weeklies above this level that had historically been the sell signal. And not only that, but we're trending above the EMA at the same time that Bitcoin and everything else is trending above it. I'll take 190. Yeah, I mean, it could, but you just don't want to sleep on it. In fact, you know what I like to do? Let me turn a lot of this stuff off. Let's clear the chart off. Let's zoom out. So this goes back to 2015. That's good. Let's go back to XMR Bitcoin, which doesn't go far enough back. I need something with like longer. Did Bittrex have XMR Bitcoin? Ah, yes, that's what I wanted. Okay, so let's look at how Bitcoin's last breakout and push to the all-time high affected things with Monero. And maybe there's no relationship at all. It's just something worth exploring. So we can see pretty clearly XMR is consolidating. Depending on how you draw it, there's a number of ways to do it. Let's see what fits best. You see how this is interesting, what happened before? How like if you were long here, or I mean if you were short here, it went down and then it went up, it broke. Down, up high enough to get well above anyone who was short there, and then went down again to scare anybody who was long. If you longed in here, now you're scared. I think that's kind of what it's going to do now, but that's neither here nor there. I still want to stick to what happened during the Bitcoin run. All right, so, and I have my chart. You can see as I move around on the chart, it moves up there as well. So Bitcoin's in its accumulation. Bitcoin breaks out. It's in its sign of strength. XMR Bitcoin hasn't really broken out yet, but it does when Bitcoin is in the $500 to $600 range. The prior all-time high was about 1,100. Nah, so there's no real relationship there as for XMR Bitcoin. Let's check XMR USD real quick. And let's see if there's any real relationship there. Again, it takes off kind of in the 570 range. And then just grinds up as Bitcoin grinds up. So here's an interesting test. If XMR blew like right there, right? This is where a lot of people said we're in bull mode right here. What are the gains if you put all your money into XMR versus Bitcoin? So XMR went on to make a 168x at the same time. Holy shit. At the same time that Bitcoin made a 34x. So you would have made several times more actually longing XMR. But again, you're having to call the top perfectly and all that kind of stuff. Interesting. I've never looked at that, so I'm glad we could kind of look at that live, because I think that's really, that kind of stuff's really interesting. A Johnny Facebook win. What's up, man? If you guys like FIFA, Atani has really good streams where he scams his chat for all kinds of money all day. Check him out. All right, so let's go back to, so the relationship with Bitcoin is not super great. And the reason I said that, Buck, see, here's Bitcoin again. Look at like how Ethereum, how it reacted when Bitcoin attacked its all-time high. Literally, as it attacks its all-time high, which, hold on, let me zoom in here. This is the all-time high. As it attacks the all-time high, that is the time to buy Ethereum. Literally, so if we hit 20K, you know, this relationship here is you should buy your alt right as you attack the all-time high. Litecoin did the same thing. Which you asked about. Fired as your promoter. Dude, you're the biggest scammer in the world, and I love it. I'm your biggest fan because of that. Litecoin, where are you? You slutty girl, you. Get over here. Litecoin, okay. Look at what Litecoin did, Buck. All right, so it consolidates from July of 2015 in this range all the way till March of freaking 17, dude. Like almost 2 full years in the same, which is why there are people who had valuable collectibles with certain things loaded on them, and they may have sold during this period of time, the majority of them. Names that shall not be named. Was mining it at 4? Yeah. There are very, very wealthy people who had hundreds of thousands, wink, wink, and they may or may not have been sold in this period, right? So, look at the relationship of Bitcoin, though, attacking its all-time high, which is this white vertical line here, or horizontal line right here, and how Litecoin explodes. So literally during the attack of, so this would be like once we attack 20K, it taking off, and Bitcoin goes on to make a 20x, right? So from 1,000 to 20,000. At the same time, Litecoin goes about a 90x, almost 100. It's like 97 or something like that. It's ridiculous. Wish I'd kept. Yeah, dude, I bet you do. Shit. I don't blame you at all, though, for selling. I mean, who knew? Here we are. So let's look at where Bitcoin is and then Litecoin right now. Litecoin is making a very similar pattern, in my opinion, to what it did back in here. So I kind of have a gamble with myself. I'm wondering if, because of how this relationship is with attacking the all-time high and then going to new highs, and Litecoin was at its, like, the apex of its consolidation, I'm wondering if this means we're going to attack the all-time high in here as well. So this period of time, this goes till March of 21. So this is why I'm pretty vocal at saying I personally think we're going to hit the all-time high in the first quarter of next year, or it could be December of this year, like, because typically things are really, really horny and bullish in December. I don't know why, but I would expect that. Chat, you guys are awesome. Pantauga got scammed with 5 today. You had to buy him 5. I love that. Hey, by the way, if you're a sub, you actually have an emote now, so you can test out your fancy new emotes, especially while we're talking Bitcoin. All right. Not those emotes. Damn it, Pantalga. Dude, do the cool new one. Come on. Not that one either. Bastard. Not that one either. This one. God damn it. It's that one. Hate you all. Ooh, Pants can do the fancy one because he's tier 2. Atani's never bought a tier 2 in his life. He scams people for tier 3s all day. Jesus Christ. All right, so Buck, what's the other one you asked for? You said, oh, Dash. Oh my God, Dash. Oh, this perpetual downtrend, you poor, poor soul. Oh, the cheat thing is awesome. Yeah, dude, this looks so bad. Why do I have what is this chart? Bittrex? Why do I even have that? This is, I'm just deleting this chart altogether. It's trash. Dash USD. Poloniex maybe? Surely that's got, yeah, that's good history. Okay. Maybe? Maybe. It still kind of looks like dog shit. Because anytime you have a channel like this, it's usually bad news bears. It usually means it's just going to keep going through the channel, you know, like all the way down. Usually, I mean, what you would like to see though is like a new trend develop and price to kind of do one of these, and which would make this technically a rounding bottom, which is exactly what we just discussed that XMR Bitcoin did, right? Something like that. So this would be like looking at the XMR chart like to here, which now we know fully developed and broke out and it was awesome, right? But for now, Dash kind of looks like dog shit. Dump Dash for Litecoin. I mean, I have more faith in Litecoin than Dash, especially when XMR is around. I don't know. I just think there's better options. I mean, I'm pointing XMR out as like a confirmed play that's already breaking out. Like a lot of kind of bullish, horny investors would move into Neo and buy the dip or Link or XMR or TRX. I don't think Dash is a terrible move because of, I always like buying kind of lows. And it's clearly not just dumping and making new lows here, but it's definitely not bullish. I mean, if I would give it a few weeks, I'd give it a few weeks. See if this actually rounds out. Like, I'm talking like 2 or 3 months. And then see if you can make a case for this being like a giant like macro pattern here. And then I think it would be, it's got to pump at some point, right? Right? Why? It's got to. Litecoin's the same thing. This thing has not done anything remotely bullish. But I have faith in this. I have a pretty big Litecoin bag. But based off this and now that, and because of where we are in the market, I have more faith in Litecoin. Oh, Atani left. I missed that. Shit. See you, dude. Sorry I missed you. Yeah, didn't somebody pay for Dash? Didn't somebody pay like 4 Bitcoin for it? Yeah. Pump at some point, lol. I know so many people say that kind of stuff. EOS is another one, does something like that. But the Bitcoin, I mean, this is just like perpetual downtrend. I would never buy that. ETC looks the same. I think Bcash is the same thing. Yeah, Bcash is the same thing. Not only that, it's like consolidated to a point and then broken below it and retested and continued down, which is like the worst. KMD is the same. Link is really interesting to me. I don't understand why the market is so goddamn bullish on this, but it is. So I jumped on the train. All right. Tex, you still there?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. What are some of your questions? I'm kind of finished with my stuff.
All right. So
wait, I'm gonna pause you super quick.
Yeah.
Buck, Link supposedly has some fundamental use case that, like, I don't really understand it. I don't really know it, but it has a gigantic following, and a ton of whales are accumulating a shitload of it in a very short period of time in a way I've never seen. Especially straight off the rip. Like, most charts look like, where's Dragon Coin? That's like a great example. Like this, like forever downtrend, like all the ones we looked at, but that is not what this looks like. And it's even fallen and like retesting along the way. Like, it's already in a macro bull run. Let me check Theta out, and then I'm gonna pass the microphone over to old Tex here. Theta looks good. I don't know a thing about it. I wouldn't mind buying a retest of the 20 EMA on the weekly, which is what I did on Link. I did buy that. I was a buyer here, and my first buys were at 10, and my second buys were at 8. So I feel pretty good about that. I mean, we'll see long term if that works out or not. Neo, I didn't get any great entries on Neo. I'm like in at 16 or something because I'm trusting this trend, but we'll see. Anyway, all right, Tex, go ahead, man.
All right, so I know in the past one thing you've talked about is the bull versus bear, being able to see that for some stuff against kind of Bitcoin, on how you're going basically against the market, how it's going against the market. How are you?
Are you talking about the premium, like the funding?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll pull that up. Sure. So I have different charts with different indicators, and this is one of them. Okay, so this is one of my favorite short-term indicators. It's on TradingView. It's nothing like fancy that you have to pay for or anything, but it is the Bitmex funding. What's the fancy thing? Bitmex funding and premium index. Now there's a footnote on this. The footnote is Bitmex recently had their co-founder arrested, and there's a warrant for the arrest of the original founder as well. So a lot of whales left Bitmex. So up to a point, I can't really vouch for the accuracy of this, but for a while it was really, really accurate. So we can kind of look historically, and I can explain. So these are daily candles. What you would look for on this is what the market, like what the trend is. So let's start kind of in here. This is right after the COVID crash in March, and where literally every asset fell down to super lows. And as price is rallying and consolidating and rallying and consolidating, you can tell that these lines spiking down are saying that the bears are paying a premium to be short. That there are so many bears jockeying for a position that they're like, it's like a bid war, and they're driving the price of liquidity to be in a bearish position. They're driving that pricier and pricier, which is like there's a midline here. It's kind of hard to see, but the further away it gets from that midline, the more they're paying in premium. So it's like not having enough money in a bank and trying to get a loan for a really good opportunity at the same time everybody is, and the bank just raises interest rates because there's like supply and demand on the limited capital. So that's kind of what's going on here. So if the market is betting one direction, historically you kind of want to bet the opposite. And you can sometimes go down into like really nuanced short-term periods. Like right here, the market was convinced we were going down, and then we didn't. We like rallied up. And then again, in this period of time, the market was absolutely convinced we're dropping, we're going back to 3K or whatever, and it didn't. It went up. So you can kind of work your way through it. It's typically best viewed on like 12-hour or dailies or whatever. But even when people got like super horny bullish, you know, you can break it down into like periods of time. They caught this breakout move. This was great. but then they were adding on and adding on and adding on, and they're holding this position for days, and you're paying the people on the other side of the trade, and your trade and the exchanges as well. So the price was not going up really enough to justify what they were paying in premiums. So eventually, you know, these positions close, and it kind of screws everybody, and they closed. And then here in more recent times, which I love seeing this. I love seeing a retest of this horizontal trend line, which was this kind of psychological line of 10,000, and the market being absolutely confident we were going down. I love that. Nothing makes me happier to be long than when the market is 100% sure we're going down. Now, the scary part is, in recent days, the market has been unsure. Typically, this is like an unknown. This is just a giant question mark. What's going to happen next? What you would prefer to see is everyone short and just knowing without, you know, any kind of doubt that we're going to go down, and because then the market would fuck them, because that's what happens in the short term. People historically, if it's a crowded trade, you don't want to be in it, or you want to counter trade it. So right now it's kind of an unknown. We can break it down into lower time frames and see if we get any. Okay, so I like this. Let me break that. This is kind of the prior resistance line. What you do is you draw this from where the breakdown happened, and then you see how the market respects it. Broke above it, and now you could argue this is resistance being tested as support. At the same time, we see the bears are positioning. Again, these are shorter time frames, so not as valuable information, because you want to see like the dailies look like that. But you know, for the last 2 4-hour periods, the bears are starting to pile on. The RSI, which is a momentum indicator, it's like the tide moving in and out. People are buying, people are selling. People are buying, people are selling. Like, you see people have sold as much as they can, or at least a reasonable amount. You see people positioned for a bearish move. So if you were going to counter trade that, you would be expecting an up move. But that, to answer your question, Tex, that's what this is. And that's the name of it right now, right there. Bitmex Funding and Premium Index.
Okay. That makes some sense on that. I was just trying to figure out where, not necessarily where, but kind of what you were looking at, what you were seeing from that, and how that was working.
Sure.
And
sure.
tying in.
And there is an ocean of indicators out there. There's a million of them.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff. I've played with all kinds of stuff. Ichimoku is really interesting if you're brand new. It's really good at pointing out what the true trend is. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Like on a macro scale. Let's do the 2-day trend. And what it does is it paints these clouds based off what how these moving averages interact. And over a period of time, you get these bubble zones, these clouds, and you can see how things interact with it. And within this Ichimoku, when you have the leading and the lagging strands cross bullishly, this is like having the 9 and the 20, or like a 5200 cross or whatever. When you have them cross and you have it above a macro cloud, and we're on the 2-day, which is pretty macro, we have price action above the cloud and this cross. And if there was a bearish cross preceding it, that is literally the 3 check marks for the most bullish setup possible within the Ichimoku system. So that's check 1, out of the clouds, check 2, bullish cross and holding, check 3. So this is telling you on a macro long-term scale, just like what happened back in 2015. You have these crosses and recrosses, and what it does is it acts as a floor. This is like that 21 EMA, and it pushes price up, 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 up. So if we can continue to hold that, these indicators have told the greater market, the macro market, that we're bullish for the foreseeable future.
Got it.
It looks like I already had one. Ah, there we go. All right, what else? Hit me with some more, like, no stupid questions. Just what's something that seems confusing to you? Or chat, if you guys got any questions too, hit me up. We're just kind of messing around tonight.
Yeah, I'm thinking right now on kind of what questions I have and how to frame them.
How do I get rich? Win rich.
Yeah. Win rich now?
Win rich. Okay, so Alka, hey dude, good to see you, by the way. He made the suggestion that I talk about Ichimoku for crypto settings versus default. Which absolutely is a good idea. Hang on. We can do those. That's fine. Buck's got a good follow-up question. We'll get to that one too. I got a great answer for that. So for whatever reason in crypto, and Alka, you may have to help me on this one because I don't know Ichimoku, and I've never been one to say that I am an expert. All I know is kind of the basics about like what the checklists are and what acts as support and resistance and stuff like that. But if you use Ichimoku, and the theory is that because these crypto markets are 24/7, somebody a while back, I think it was Josh, Carpe Noctem, but I'm pretty sure the idea is that because there's more activity than in traditional markets where normal settings work, you actually have to double the amount of data to see what's going on. Hence the idea of using 2 days. Yeah, okay, settings are for Monday through Friday, Wall Street. Yeah, so same idea, because there is no market close or, market bell or whatever for crypto. It's 24/7. All right, and Alka linked a good video in the chat. I'm sure it explains it. Yeah, Josh is really good. I don't know. I'm not subbed to anybody on this new YouTube account, so I'll go ahead and sub to him. But he's good. He knows his shit. Yeah, so if you go, like, if you start playing with Ichimoku, actually, here's what I need to tell you, and anybody else who's listening. Pick like 1 or 2 indicators that are interesting to you and get really good at using them. I've been doing this for like 4 years of looking at different indicators, and I'll go through periods where I use different things, but at the end of the day, one of the most powerful tools for me is just finding horizontals and breakouts and volume attached to that. Maybe the VPVR. Where are you? Visible range. These are all very useful things. That's funny. I hadn't looked at the VPVR on the 2-day, but it's funny how it attacked that volume node before coming back and really... Well, I guess we didn't have that at the time. It would have looked like... Would have looked like that. Yeah, that's interesting. Huh. The question is now what with price action? Yeah, you can change all kinds of settings with the bar counts and everything. Buck, why is the ETH still alive? Why is ETH still alive after the huge DAO fail and trust? Solo mined a few blocks back in the day at $8. Big sad. Oof. I guess you hate money, Buck. Maybe that's why. Oh my God, you mined like below the ICO price. Holy shit. You had to have been like back in there. Yeah, crypto's different back then. Dude, 100%. buck. I sold 65 Bitcoin at $600, and I thought I was God's gift to like charting and all that. And I'll never get that. Like, I'll never have 65 Bitcoin again, I bet. Like, never. Because I didn't understand what Bitcoin was. It took me to the... By the time I realized what Bitcoin really was, like, we were in here. I mean, I wrote it up and made money, sure, but I didn't really know what it was, like, enough to be, like, kind of all in. Yeah, never say never, I hope. What I need is a sustained uptrend where I can sell these blow-off tops and rebuy the 20 weekly moving average. Or the 21. People argue it's the 21, so it's whatever. A 6 GPU rig. Or did you say, is that a 16 GPU rig? Oh, you're talking to Alka. I see.
Okay, so going back to the Ichimoku.
Yeah.
If you can kind of go into a little bit of detail on what we're really looking at there, because I
can tell you in general terms, but I'm not the expert.
It doesn't have to be like...
Okay.
Not looking for business class here. I'm just looking for kind of what versus the clouds versus some of the lines, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and what's generating the clouds.
Okay, so two ways for you to be able to view this stuff and kind of figure it out, like even if I'm not around. Yeah. The first is if you double click on what has been drawn, like what the indicator you have on, like it will actually show you, okay, the conversion line is this and the baseline is that and the lagging span is whatever and the lead line. I need to change that like that. There we go. Okay, so now that you kind of see what these lines are, you can actually click, and beside the name up in the top left corner, there's like the eyeball and a gear, and then there's two brackets. You can click on the brackets and it will actually pull up what the code is for what you're looking at. And while it may be gobbledygook, you can kind of make heads or tails of it and say, oh, okay, the conversion period is 9 periods. So if I'm on the weekly, that means 9, or I'm on the 2-day here. Let me go back to 2-day actually works. Let's stick there. So 9 2-day periods make up the conversion line. Okay, and the conversion line is blue. So I know that the blue line wiggling around is 9 periods of 2 days. It's like a 9-day EMA. That's what that is. Okay. Now, what is the baseline? Okay, well, let me click. Let's see what color the baseline was. The baseline was red. And that's a 26 period. So that's like a 26 EMA. Okay. So you have a 9 and a 26 floating around. Which is, there's different names for a lot of this stuff. But then there's this lagging strand, which kind of hangs back. It's this green way in the back. And it's, and this is what I'm not 100% on because I never use Ichimoku myself, except to see the actual crosses of the lead lines and what is like forming the clouds themselves. But there is some, because, and again, I'm not trying to be an expert here, but you want the price to be supported by this lagging strand in some way, in some manner. And at the same time, what these clouds are identifying is periods of bull and periods of bear, or at least like a downtrend and a uptrend. And what their true usefulness is twofold. One, if you can enter the cloud, or if price enters the cloud, there is almost always what's called an edge to edge of a cloud. So you can tell, like right in here, the price significantly entered, like it entered here back in this period, but then it fell out, right? So you want it to close, and here it closed a number of times in the cloud, and it performed what's called an edge to edge. It went from the edge it entered to the complete opposite edge. So a lot of times people will play the Ichimoku cloud just for the edge to edge. You can pull this up.
It's going to pass through.
Yeah,
Basically. It's
and
gonna
you
pass
can,
through the cloud.
and no matter what asset you're looking at, there's all these plays, and they frequently work out from one edge to the other, even on downtrends. But they do fail, especially right after blow off tops, right after bull markets. You'll see like lots of attempts and fails at it. But on the way up, like once you're breaking out of consolidation and sideways, no matter what the asset is, typically you'll have these edge to edges. Here's another one. Just edge to edge. Let's see if we had one recently. I haven't looked at any of this. We had a chance to go major bear right here because we were in the bullish cloud, right? Like, so this would suggest we're going to go down and either test or break through, but it didn't. In fact, it came back up and went out again. Yeah, and now we're floating along the top, which is kind of what you want, and it matches up with the Wyckoff and all that stuff too. Like, you want several things kind of all pointing the same way. But edge to edge is really fun. A lot of people play that a lot. I don't use Ichimoku a lot, but I know enough of it to kind of be dangerous. But I don't know all the nuances and specifics of it. Another edge to edge. So this is on 2 days. Some people swear by certain settings, like only on the weeklies or only on the 1 days or whatever. But most of the time in crypto, you want at least a 2 day. Or if you are familiar with charting a 4 hour, do double that. Do an 8 hour. But I'm not a huge Ichimoku fan, so that's all I'm going to talk about Ichimoku. I prefer... Go back to this guy. This is what I've been using more times than not, especially for my macro plays. Ooh, okay. Short and long-term price predictions for Bitcoin 1 to 3 years. Well, I hadn't even got into that in this stream, Buck, so you didn't miss anything, but... You know, let's look at what's happened each halving. All right, we pulled a 90x, which you could argue this was the Willy bot or whatever. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. All right, but then we accumulated. No Willy bots, no bullshit. Maybe Tether. You know, if you wanted to make up something, you know, whoever your bad guy is for the cycle. We pulled a 100x as well. From $200 roughly, from the lows, $200 to 20,000. So if we continue to pull these 100x's, that would be, call it 300,000. I don't necessarily expect that because I think we're going to be front ran pretty heavily. I mean, you've got huge ass institutions here at this time, and they're not stupid. So
yeah, I saw that there's like 115, 100 and something million that somebody, an institution, just bought in on today or yesterday.
There's actually a website that's been updated. Where are you? Do you know that website, Buck? There's a particular oh, here we go. Yeah, it's this. There's a website though. BitcoinTreasuries.org. There we go. This is the list of all companies that are public and how much they've bought. So you can see publicly traded companies, right? There was a time, not like less than a year ago, this was zero. There was no one on this list. And then, you know, slowly, then suddenly, what's the saying? All right, my voice is like going out, guys. Apologize. So, Buck, you said, what do you mean by front run? Let me tell you what I mean by that. Let's say you knew, crystal ball, all the TA in the world points to it. We're going to 20,000. It's a nice round number. Everybody loves it. Well, if you look up in here, look in this right there. When I hover over that, we actually didn't hit 20,000. We hit 19,890. The highest a Bitcoin was sold on this particular exchange was 19,890. 891. Okay. So this happens a lot, actually, especially when, like, this is the prior all-time high. This is, look at the structure of this attack on the prior all-time high, which was about $1,000, $1,100. Look at this dog shit, knockdown, drag out, knuckle sandwich fight right here. This is wild. Price goes from $800 to the all-time high, breaks it. Everyone is so bullish. Someone just drops it like 30% in a week. And then there's this grind again, new height, somebody dumps it again, another 20 to 30%. And then we're off to the races. So people will expect particular price points to get challenged. And when they do, a lot of times they'll sell right before they actually happen. Like this was 3,000. So you can see as the price was approaching 3,000, we got to like 2,700 or whatever. And somebody sold a shitload. And in small bursts, that's fine. But when big sells start coming in, that is literally the top. Like you will not get any higher than that. And one of the signs, we'll be looking at this as we start pushing into the all-time high and getting our parabolic runs. But one of the big signals that we're nearing a top is when the Bitcoin day is destroyed. Let me type that out. Bitcoin days destroyed. If you want to pull that up, this is good information too. When this starts spiking, what this is imagine imagine 10 years ago you had one Bitcoin in a wallet and you didn't move it. You would get a point for every day that it sat in that wallet. And that wallet would accrue a certain number of points. And then if like all of a sudden this year you sold it, so there's like a meter, and it's keeping tabs of what those days are. It's like kind of some trend. Some people sell, some people buy, whatever. And then all of a sudden, if it's going like this and you sell Bitcoin from a wallet 10 years old, it spikes like a mofo. And then if lots of people do it, it spikes and it's really fat. And like, it's a big signal that people are saying, whoa, I've owned Bitcoin since $200 and it's 20,000 today. Shit, I'm going to sell that Bitcoin from my wallet from 4 years ago. And typically that's a sign of a top. So anyway, we'll be looking at stuff like that. But I suspect the guys that are getting into Bitcoin are sophisticated enough to know that Bitcoin does not go up in a straight line. It ebbs and flows. And if they're trying to make money for their shareholders and everybody else, they want to be the guy selling here and buying here literally every time. So they will front run. Instead of 20,000, they'll sell at 15 just to get out. And then they'll be the guys buying down in like the 3,000 and 4,000 range, like guaranteed. I don't have the Mayer multiple. I can Google it. I don't have it like ready on the chart though.
And so before you, I guess while you're looking that up, so
yeah,
and I think it was something you brought up before in a different stream, is those kickback downs of the 20-30% on a run is what keeps the run alive, right?
Yeah,
so helps sustain it.
It does. So a lot of times, let me delete this real quick and I'll make my point here. So a lot of times when a price level is broken, the market will retest it for confidence. So for example, that one in particular, which was this like 300 level, we failed it multiple times. We finally broke above it and retested it. And then here, you know, call it $400 or $500, whatever. That was also retested. And then this 700, that was also retested. Like you'll have these retests all along the way. And you're right. But when there's big gaps like that, that's actually kind of a sign of the end. Because when you have these parabolic trends, you want to ride these because they'll make you rich 100%. This is the goal. Like, I'm not trading really until I start seeing these kind of trends. And then you try to fit it as best you can, but shit gets wild real quick. But as you're charting this, and you're going to realize that to maintain this parabolic run, like, okay, yeah, that one retested, but then that was it. Like, nothing, these little chicken shit ones don't really count. Like, you want like a big sustained, you know, macro. Like, this was from June of 16 to December of 16. This is 6 months of a particular price level. Like, it's like building stairs. Like, you want to have big, strong support, you know, before you go on to the next stair level.
Right.
And then once you have this breakout though, and the stairs get thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner, the market theory, like what the thing that textbooks like to talk about is the strong man pushing the ball up the hill. And the story goes, it's like you're supposed to imagine like ancient Greece or whatever. Imagine there's like a really strong guy, like super strong, like 2-3 times stronger than a normal guy back in the ancient days. And imagine he comes out and he starts pushing a boulder up a hill, and every day he pushes it a little higher. And all the friends, like the weak men from the village, are like trying to impress their girlfriends and stuff and their ladies. And so they join him. And like over time, there's a huge group of people, and they're all kind of pushing as much as they can, but the hill is getting steeper and steeper and steeper. And up at a certain point, the super strong man, who is really doing the majority of the work, he just moves out of the way. He just like gets out of the way. And all that's between the boulders and the bottom of the hill is these weak hands is what you're supposed to do. And that's what all this bullshit the bear markets are, is the strong men who accumulated down in here and helped intentionally push the price up have sold, and they are out. They are no longer pushing the ball up the hill. So you want to be sophisticated enough to know that while Bitcoin is the future, and while I am a maximalist, I don't want to be the guy who's like holding through the entire bear market because I didn't realize what was happening. Like, my intention is to be the guy selling up here and then maybe buying a little in here and then buying some in there for the next run.
Yeah. You don't want to have to miss the top and then catch the next run.
Yeah, because
you missed.
And they're multi-year. Like, they are literally, these are 4-year cycles. So Buck, to answer your question, yeah, 1 to 3 year price prediction. I like the stock to flow price model. I'm actually a big fan of that. So let me cover this just a little bit. What this is a mathematical calculation of what the price of Bitcoin could be. Just strictly based off math with some assumptions. It's not flawless, and some people argue you shouldn't even use it, but I kind of like it because the price tends to fit to it. But what you'll see is, like, let me leave the mouse right here and we can discuss it. Let's see. There's a certain price point I'm looking for, and I want to show it. Okay. All right, let's just do that one. So in December of 2017, the price was $16,400, but the model suggested the price was $5,600. So, like, all things being equal, remove FOMO and like all the other crazy bullshit, the price should have been mathematically about $5,000, $5,500 per Bitcoin. But the market was so like hot and heavy and horny at the end of this parabolic run that it was 20,000 around this time. So what this model would say is, if you saw the price of 20 but the model at 5,500, you should have been the guy to be like, oh shit, that's like 4 times more than the model says. I'm out. Like, I'm selling, brother. And then, like a rubber band, it snaps back down. And while the model suggested that we should have been valued at like 7,000 or so at the time, price hit 3,500. So again, same thing, but on the opposite end. Mathematically, we should have been twice what the actual traded price was, because it's just a reflection of like the ebb and flow of these markets. So that being said, the model suggests in about December of 21, $100,000 $100,000 is the mathematically calculated Bitcoin price. Now, because of the FOMO effect, and you can see how with each of these cycles, they end with these blow off tops to the upside. I suspect we'll be maybe double that. So my bullish target is 200,000. For the way that I trade, I'm really just asking for a 10x on the lows of this cycle, which was like 30,000 to 40,000. I think if we can do that, we're sending some serious, like, powerful signals. And I'll kind of rearrange some of my portfolio and risk appetite and stuff at that time. But I bet by December of 21. Oh, thanks, Buck. I appreciate you, buddy. Look, you get a cool new emote, by the way. You can check that out. I bet by December of 21, we hit about 200,000, maybe more, maybe 250 to 3. But then it's going to be hell on earth for the 2 to 3 years after that. It has to be. That's how these cycles work. You have these great moments of bullish horniness, and then we come back to reality, and we're actually like under market value. So I think that's what the miners are expecting. I think that's why the hash rate is day after day all-time highs, which is another way to put this is miners are buying a lot of Bitcoin with their electricity. They're paying a lot of money to their their electrical providers, and like Samson Mao is setting up. He has a contract with an entire hydroelectric dam. Like literally, all the power from a dam is being diverted for Bitcoin mining. We have cities in the U.S. that are setting up municipal projects, so city level projects, just to mine Bitcoin, because they're not just trying to get wealthy. Like some people are doing this, like the meme of the Indian guy or the Hindu guy with like all the gold on, and he's like, I'm in this in it for the money or for the technology. Meme. This guy. A lot of people say that, and they're like, I'm in it for the technology. All right, and it's perfect. He's got the Bitcoin thing on it. But that's
gold
not
shirt. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's got this gold shirt. You can't mine at home anymore. Not profitable. Yeah, you're right, because you're competing against city level, like ultra efficient conglomerate. Yeah, exactly. Like nation state level projects. He got robbed and killed. I did not know that. That's freaking sad. So now I'm like super depressed. Thank you, Bob, for ruining the stream. I appreciate you. So back to the topic though. I think let's call goddamn. Let's call 200,000 top. Let's call $50,000 bottom. $50,000 bottom 2024. 23 to 24, somewhere in there. Because what I'm saying is 2 to 3 times above the calculated number, and about half of it as well, which is literally last time we went four times the calculated number, and then 50% of it. So I'm just saying a 2x and then 50%. Yeah, I'm holding you to that. You're gonna like find me. Why didn't we do it? We only got 1.5, 150%. Damn it.
So what, I guess you were looking at it earlier on Ethereum. How do you...
Ooh. Are you asking me the high for Ethereum? Do you want to know my target for Ethereum?
Sure. Give it to us.
Okay, well, here's the qualifier. If it does what Bitcoin did.
And that's what I'm saying. If it follows Bitcoin's lead.
If it follows Bitcoin's lead. Major qualifier there. It would go 100x, right, from the lows to the highs. So Ethereum would go 100x from its market lows, or its cycle lows, I guess I'll call it, which was about $100. Which is why, if you see me scroll out of this, you'll see I already have this little orange hash mark for my $10,000 Ethereum, which just sounds fucking ridiculous. Like any sane person would be like, get out of here, dude. Whatever. All right, you're done. How do I unsub?
You need to make that arrow a little bit longer.
How do I unsub from this asshole? But all I'm saying is, if it pulled what Bitcoin did, because it has the exact same Wyckoff accumulation pattern, but over 3 times the time period. This is literally identical. What Bitcoin did. The thing with Wyckoff accumulation is that there's Wyckoff distribution on the tail end of it. And if we had zoomed in on that, like on the dailies, you could actually see it happen. So that's what we will be watching for. But Wyckoff distribution occurs after a parabolic uptrend. So until we see that, I'm not even looking. So we would essentially get something like this.
And that's Ethereum. God damn, that does look almost exactly like.
Oh, dude, look. I'll show it. I mean, it is literally identical.
I think you just copy pasted.
No, it's I get so horny for Ethereum when I see this. And not just Ethereum, this is what I'm saying. The total 2 market cap, which is the market, this is showing like the buying and selling activity of the entire alt market, no Bitcoin, just the alt market. And this is showing you that alts are doing exactly what Bitcoin did. And
that's across the board?
Yeah, this is total 2 is across the board. Now it's made up of, you gotta like,
it's like a S&P.
Yeah, right.
Dow Jones Industrial Average kind of thing. It's not every stock. It's
no,
it's
it is.
Select
So total 2 is literally every one of them. It's everyone except Bitcoin, and there's thousands, right? So the qualifier is the highest market capped coins will have the biggest impact. So if you go to like coinmarketcap.com, you can look at what some of the top coins are, and you can see how they would like unfairly affect things.
They're going to be your drivers.
They're your drivers, exactly. So what you should do is check, these guys for what would match that pattern. And the ones that I found,
who's making that, basically who's driving that pattern, really is what you're looking for, right?
Yeah. So what I found was Ethereum, Neo, ADA, TRX maybe. Again, I always say it's a maybe. It's ugly as hell. I don't like this wick. I think that destroys the structure. So I'm not in it. I don't have any TRX longs. But then XMR, I think, will complete after a extended. And I'm crystal balling it here a little bit. I understand, but I think we're going to get some sort of sideways SOS here, which is like this basically. I think we'll get some consolidation, and then it'll be super clear. But right now, we just have this really, really wild breakup. But if you were long XMR, I wouldn't necessarily sell quite yet. I don't know. It's hard to tell. There's a lot of like maybes built into this. But it's making yearly highs, so I love it. Okay, let me catch up with chat real quick. Why do you think ETH and other certain coins follow Bitcoin? What is in total 2? Okay, got to go later. See you, Alka. See you, dude. $30. Up 30 in a week or 2. Which one are you talking about? XMR. Yeah, I mean, what XMR did was break its downtrend convincingly. And a lot of times when you see any asset do that, like even when ETH did that, when it broke it, I mean, that's when it went from $240 to like 500. But then it came back to reality. And that's all I'm saying. And Neo did the same thing. Neo went from like $10 to $26, and then it came back to reality. And ADA did the same thing, as it was breaking its downtrend. So let's call it 0.05, so 5 cents to 15 cents, so 3x. But now it pulled back to like 8 cents. So all I'm saying is I think XMR will do something similar. Let's look at XMR USD, and then maybe we can find the 21 week. Yeah, so the 21 week is at about $90 right now. So I don't know. I'm just saying things don't just go straight up, right? They reverse. They play their plays. But what's important is that you signal to the entire market that there was a constraint, that the market was refusing to allow it above, and then it broke above it. So then that's just bullish. Like from a macro perspective, The play would be either to sit back and wait for the trend to play out over a period of months, or if you want to scalp it when it gets really far away from the 21 EMA, and then buy when it's added again. Because if this is bullish, like I suspect it will be, it will not go substantially below it or even trend below it on the USD. Like I've said in an old stream, what this is telling you on Ethereum is that your days of buying sub $300 Ethereum are over. Like, you missed it. Sorry, big guy, it's over.
I got it.
You got it. You're in.
I'm in.
Hold it. Keep it.
Oh, I'm not letting it go. Got in at 3-1 Bitcoin Ethereum.
Yep. I bought the dip right there. I diverted some capital into that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Let's see. So anyway, this is what I like to see. So most of these alts, I'm calling about a 100x from their lows. So Neo would be $300, or roughly 2 times its prior all-time high, which is not a tall ask, you know, when you think back on what other things have done. ADA would be like $1, and that's about 3 times its prior all-time high. You know, so these are not like crazy numbers that don't make sense. It's not like XRP is going to $400, you know, that kind of bullshit. Link, I don't have a price target for Link because this thing does not go down. There's no history to it. So I don't know what to tell you on Link. XMR just looks so good on that trend. God, that looks good. Theta and T-Fuel, no. I looked at it earlier.
You looked at Theta. I don't think you looked at T-Fuel.
What is T-Fuel? If it is like a macro uptrend, I'm going to stick to my 21 weekly moving average. I think the market seems to respect that. Oh, hold on. You found it. That's awesome. Hey, could you do me a huge favor? All right, sorry guys. Wife lost her AirPods and then finally found it.
Win.
Yeah, it was. I was like not happy. That's a big dub. Theta and T-Fuel. I don't know, man. Theta, T-Fuel. Let's see what the market's T-Fuel. Dub, big dub. Wow, co-founder of YouTube behind it. Okay, I'm already a little bit aroused. Keep going. Not there yet. Keep going. Finance is involved. I'm a little more aroused. Okay, keep going. Thank you, baby. Oh. I think there's enough people behind it that it will pump. Is that fair? I may not believe in it like for the long term, because I don't really believe in hardly anything in this space, but so that's Theta. Let's look at T-Fuel real quick. By the way, Pantaga, what do you want to play here in a minute for the gaming segment? Since it is it was his birthday recently. Ooh, that looks really good, Buck. That looks really good. Holy shit, that's nice. Broken downtrend, consolidation, finding support on macro EMA. So if I was trading this, Buck, kind of like with NXT, like we identify a potential trend, a potential trade. The trade here would be that this is a bull flag. And so the way a bull flag works is you have your pole, which is like the prior uptrend. You have your consolidation, and then there's another uptrend. And the breakout has a target, and it is literally the length of the pole. This is the pole. So we can measure roughly this pole It's 0.023. And then we can add that to the breakout point. So if it broke out, like say right there, we would add 0.023. So your target would be, this is the technical analysis side of it, which is funny. Like I did this all in 2017, 2018. I couldn't care less now, but I know it. I understand it. I can teach it, but I don't use it hardly. So that would be your target. So the play here would be you enter long, margin or not, and then you set a low, you set a stop, like wherever you're comfortable. Like for example, it seems like this 20 weekly moving is pretty good support. So maybe give it like 10% below that, because it doesn't seem to even be getting below it. But the risk you run with stops is that there's a liquidation like punch. It's like a scam wick is what they call it. It does something like that. And it'll just tag you. So, I mean, it's up to you. You either use a little bit of money you don't mind losing in case it does nuke back down, or you try to manage it with stops and have like multiple stops so that maybe only like 1 or 2 are hit, and then you actually catch some of the move. I don't know, a lot of things to do there. Are they correlated? Looks like theta and T-fuel work in tandem. Let's see. I don't know. I'll check into that off stream. It's got my eye though. The chart does for sure. I may put a little something in it. That's pretty interesting though. Ping me with any findings. Yeah, I will. I'll let you know. The signal to noise, or the noise to signal ratio is so garbage in this space that there can be really good projects like this. Like this may be, you know, like the world's first AI created theta or something, and it's like guaranteed win, and I wouldn't know about it just because there's so much garbage bullshit everywhere all the time. But I will look into that though. That's very interesting. I'm gonna flag that. Things to check out. T-fuel and theta. Okay. All right. I think we're gonna switch over and do some games or something with Alka. With Pantauga and Tex. So you guys are welcome to hang out, but if you're just here for the crypto, we're glad you're here. Buck, I appreciate the Prime deal. You bet. Hey, and I'm actually adjusting my schedule. Before it was kind of willy-nilly, but I'm gonna do Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday going forward, and that's going to be like official.